Alright, let's look at solving 1 and 2 step inequalities. Now, an equivalent inequality is just an inequality with the same solutions. We've got several that all have the same solutions. So for example, x plus 4 is less than 7. That has the same solutions as x is less than 5. When you solve this one, it'll give you the same solutions as it does x is less than 5. So when we're solving inequalities, let's look at solving inequalities using addition and subtraction with one step. Okay, this one I have x minus 3 is less than 5. Now I'm going to solve it just like I would if I was solving a one-step equation. I'm going to add 3 to both sides to get over here my minus 3 plus 3 simplifies out. I'm left with x, and 5 plus 3 is 8. Now I need to graph it. Notice it's not equal to, so it's an open circle on 8. And x is everything less than 8, so it's all the numbers going to the left of 8. So if I need to check my answer to see if I'm correct, let's take a number that one of my solutions, I'm going to take 7, because 8 is not a solution, remember, it's not equal to, it's open. So I'm going to set x equals to 7. Use my inequality, x minus 3 is less than 5. Put in 7 for x, so 7 minus 3, see if it's less than 5. And since 4 is less than 5, my inequality solution, x is less than 8, is true. And let's look at this one. Y plus 5 is greater than or equal to negative 3. Alright, again, just like solving a regular equation, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. When I do y plus 5 minus 5, this zeroes out, and negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. So I've got y is greater than or equal to negative 8. This equal to means I have a closed circle on negative 8, and since y is greater than that negative 8, I want to shade everything to the right and draw my arrow to the right. Now, when I'm checking my work to see if this inequality and this inequality are equivalent, then what I need to do is pick a number on my number line that is in my solution that I found. So I'm going to say I'm going to pick negative 7 for y, which falls right there. So I'm going to set y equal to negative 7. Use my inequality of y plus 5 is up. I've made a mistake. Y plus 5 is greater than or equal to, I'm setting equations here. So I'm going to get y plus 5 is greater than or equal to negative 3. Negative 7 plus a 5 is it greater than or equal to negative 3. And since negative 3 is greater than or equal to negative 3, my answer is true because it's equal to. Actually, that should be 2. I made a mistake. That's what I get for doing this late at night. So negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2. And you know, since negative 2 is here, negative 3 is here, negative 2 is greater than negative 3, so that still is true. Alright, solving inequalities using multiplication and division. Now this, again, same way we solve equations, we're doing inequalities now. But there's one key difference. Now, when you're multiplying or dividing by a negative number, what I like to say is when you're moving a negative number away from x by multiplying or dividing, you need to remember to flip the inequality sign. So let's look at some examples. Number 1, I've got negative 2x is greater than 6. Now to solve this, I've got to divide each side by negative 2. Since I am moving this negative 2 from this side of the inequality to this side of the inequality, then I need to make sure I flip my inequality sign. So I'm going to get x is less than negative 3. The second example, I have x divided by negative 4 is less than or equal to 1. Now, to solve this, I'm going to multiply each side by a negative 4. Since I am moving this negative 4 from this side of the equation to this side of the equation by multiplying, I also flip my sign. So my answer is x is greater than or equal to negative 4. Alright, so let's look at some practice. So we need to solve and graph these inequalities. This first one, r divided by 3 is greater than negative 4. I'm going to multiply each side by 3. Notice, I do not flip the sign because the number I'm moving this 3 from this side to this side is a positive number. It's not negative. So the sign stays the same, and I have r is greater than negative 12. This is a greater than sign, no equal to, so it's open circle on negative 12, and r is greater than, so we're drawing our arrow to the right. Number 2, we got 6 plus w is less than or equal to 4. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. 4 minus 6 is not negative 6. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. So I need to make sure I put a closed circle on negative 2 and draw my arrow to the left because I need everything smaller than negative 2 for my solution. Now number 3, I have negative c divided by 4 is less than 3. Now, to get rid of the 4, I need to multiply each side by 4, but I still have a negative, so an easy way to move them both, multiply each side by a negative 4. Since I'm multiplying each side by a negative 4, I'm moving this negative 4 to here, I flip my sign, giving me c is greater than negative 12. Now, since it's not equal to, it's an open circle. And since it's on negative 12 is not an answer, so open circle on negative 12 and c is greater than, that means negative 12 is the smallest answer. So I'm going to go to the right with my arrow for all my solutions. Now let's look at number 4. We have negative 1 is less than negative 4 plus d. I need to add 4 to both sides. Well, remember when I do that, negative 4 plus 4, that's 0. And negative 1 plus 4 gives me 3 is less than d. Alright, so since it's just less than, it's not equal to, I'm going to put an open circle on 3, which is right there. And d is everything greater than 3. So I am going to go this way with my arrow. Alright, the second one, number 5, 2x is greater than or equal to 4. I'm going to divide each side by 2. I'm not dividing by a negative, so I leave my sign the same way, and I get x is greater than or equal to 2. So that means a closed circle on 2, since it's equal to, and x is everything bigger or larger than 2, so I'm going to go to the right again to make everything larger than 2. Alright, number 6, negative 3x is less than or equal to 9. I'm going to divide this side by negative 3 and this side by negative 3. Notice I'm dividing this side and this side by a negative, moving a negative number. This becomes x. Remember, I must flip my sign, and this is negative 3. So I've got x is greater than or equal to negative 3. That means closed circle on negative 3. And since x is larger than negative 3, I'm going to draw my arrow to the right for my answer. Alright, now we're going to look at two-step inequalities. Same thing as solving equations, except we're using our flipping of a sign when we're multiplying and dividing by a negative number. Other than that, you are just solving it just like you would a regular equation. Alright, so this first one, negative 3n plus 4 is greater than or equal to 16. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. When I do that, that becomes 0. I'm left with negative 3n is greater than or equal to 12. Since I have to divide each side by a negative 3, notice I flip my sign. I get n is less than or equal to negative 4. That means closed circle on negative 4. 4 is the largest number, so I'm going to the left and drawing my arrow towards smaller numbers. Number 2, I've got x is divided by 2 plus 4 is less than 8. Subtract 4 from both sides. Remember, 4 minus 4 is 0. 8 minus 4 is 4. Still have x divided by 2. Going to multiply each side by 2. Since it's a positive number, we leave our sign alone. So I've got x is less than 8. It's not equal to, so it's an open circle on 8. And 8 is your largest number, so you're going to draw your arrow to the left. Sorry, don't know my left from my right. To the left, showing your solution smaller than 8. Alright, number 3, 2 is less than or equal to p divided by negative 4 plus 4. Alright, subtract 4 from both sides. Remember, when you do that, that becomes 0. I bet 2 minus 4 is negative 2 is less than or equal to p divided by negative 4. Alright, I've got 2. Multiply each side by a negative 4. Remember, when I do that, look at my sign. I flipped it because I multiplied each side by a negative. That means 8 is greater than or equal to p. That means close circle on 8. 8 is going to be my largest number, so I'm going to draw my arrow towards the smaller numbers, which is towards the left. Alright, the last one, x minus 5, all divided by 3, is greater than or equal to negative 2. Now remember, if this was an equal sign, remember those exceptions that we had to the rule, where I have to multiply each side by the denominator first. So that's what we've got to do here still. I've got to multiply each side by this 3. Since it's positive, even though this negative 2 is negative, but since this 3 is positive, and that's what I'm moving from this side over here, I'm not going to switch my inequality sign. So I have, when I do this, the 3's basically become 1. So I'm left with x minus 5 is greater than or equal to negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Then I'm going to add 5 to both sides, and I get x is greater than or equal to negative 1. Now, it's going to put a closed circle on negative 1, and since x is larger than that, I'm going to draw my arrow towards the larger numbers. Alright, now let's look at some application problems. Now with these, we're going to be basically writing and solving an inequality to solve my problem, or my word problem. Now this one has students in the school band are selling calendars. They earn 40 cents on each calendar they sell. Their goal is to earn more than $327. So we need to write and solve an inequality to find the fewest number of calendars they need to sell to reach their goal. So first thing I need to do, what is my x going to represent? Okay, we're going to say x represents the number of calendars. So the number sold, okay? Alright, so they're going to get 40 cents per calendar. So that means I'm going to do 0.40 times the number of calendars. That's going to tell me how much I'm going to make. Now, we want this number to be more than 327. Alright, now we've got to solve. So I need to divide each side by 0.04, or 0.40, sorry. And I'm going to get x is greater than 818. So that means I need to solve more than 818 to get my goal. Alright, so number 2, suppose you earn $6.15 per hour working a part-time job at a dry cleaner. We need to write and solve an inequality to find out how many full hours you must work to earn at least $100. So, my x this time is going to be the number of hours. So, number of hours worked. Alright, so I'm getting $6.15 per hour. So I'm going to do 6.15 per hour, so x. And I want to work at least $100. That means I want this greater than or equal to 100. Alright, let's divide each side by 6.15. And I'm going to get my final answer as x is greater than or equal to 17 hours. So I need to work bare minimum of 17 hours in order for me to make $100.